Also moved.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Jackie. Yes, please call us back in.
Ms. Falcone Schubert. Ms. Gulan.
She just said here.
Not coming through the speakers.
I saw it glow, but it didn't come to the speaker.
Mr. Grunfelder.
Here.
Mr. DiStefano.
Oh, you're gonna have
He's there too. There we go. Phil, can you just say check 1, 2?
Check 1, 2.
All right, here we
Okay, so Jada.
go. Ms. Gulan on reconvening.
Present. Leslie, you're slightly right on the US 46 way.
Mr. Grunfelder. You are yes on the reconvene?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. DiStefano.
Present. Yes.
Ms. Polachina.
Yes.
Ms. Turkington.
Yes.
And Mr. Francis.
Yes,
Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to get Kelly. We're going to get rolling. All right, I guess sit in the front row, I guess. All right. Kelly, you can say whatever you want. Okay. All right, I will remind everyone that we're live streaming. All right. Hi, Kelly, how are you?
I'm well, Scott. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for coming. Thank you for
Voice
your
messages
interest.
and one fake message.
Somebody's trying to throw me off. All right. All right, so we have 6 questions. We're going to go right down the line for each candidate. So the first question, Kelly, is what interests you about a Board of Education position? What makes you think you'll be good for the role? And please elaborate and provide examples.
Okay, so I feel that education is very imperative. So I feel to be part of the board would be great because I have 2 kids. I'm very involved. I'm always out there putting my time in to better functions and sports and anything I can for my kids. So I would be happy to help in any way I can.
Okay. Anything else on that? Have you been to Board of Ed meetings before? And if so, why? Or if not, why not?
Yes, I've been to many board meetings. Again, education is big, and I'd like to know what's going on in the schools for my kids and myself, and where my money's going, and thanks.
Okay, thank you. Question 3, what experience do you have with schools? For example, with schools or our schools. For example, child or grandchild have attended the schools or yourself.
Okay, I have 2 kids in the district, a 4th grader and a 6th grader. I've been on Hepto. I was one of the vice president or president. I actually did it with Nikki when Hudson Maxim was there. I was on the Hepto when Hudson Maxim closed down. I was there when cleaning up Hudson Maxim, moving teachers out, setting up the middle school when they were moving to the middle school. I've done that. I've been involved in Books and Beyond. I volunteer anytime I can volunteer to go into the school, I can. I know with COVID it's been a little different now, but anytime I can be there, I try to always be there.
Okay. What is an example of a challenge that you've overcome in your life? And how does that reflect on your character?
Okay, so I don't know, many people in here don't know me, but I was diagnosed with MS about 3 years after my youngest was born. So just overcoming the initial scare, because I honestly thought I was dying, and moving forward from that, it's challenging, and but I think it's made me a stronger person, knowing that I can push through and move on.
Thank you. How do you view the role of a Board of Education member?
It's a public service. That's how I view it, as a public service.
Okay. And the last question is, how do you work with others? Can you give us an example of a time you had to work with others to reach a common goal?
I think I work with others very well. I work for corporate America. I work for UPS. I have to build billing systems. I have to work with our applications teams to build these systems. I coach my daughter's soccer team. I have to work with other coaches to build who the best team to put out there is, substitutions, we talked about that. Again, like I work with UPS, I'm constantly in meetings doing teamwork and putting our heads together to come up with better solutions for our billing systems.
Okay. All right, thank you. That's it. Cool.
Unless you have anything else?
All right.
Thank
So
you.
we're-
No problem. Do you want me to send someone in?
No, I'm gonna come out.
Okay.
Just because before I had a schedule today. What I'm saying is, yeah, he's here. Right. Okay. Sure.
That works.
All right, Joe, thank you for coming, thank you for your interest.
Yep, thank you.
6 questions. First question is, what interests you about a Board of Education position, and what makes you think you'll be good for the role? Please elaborate and provide examples.
Yeah, so as a lifelong resident of Hopatcong, went to the school system here. My kids go to school here now, one in kindergarten, one in 3rd grade, so looking to get more involved in school decisions, school board, things that are going to have an impact on my kids' future. Like I said, as a lifelong resident, I always had fond memories of going through the school system. Things have obviously changed and evolved over the past few years, or the past decades, I should say, since it's been a while. But I'm interested to see the direction and the path that Hopatcong has. I think some of the perceptions out there, you know, Scott, you may know I'm involved in some of the sports programs, but some of the perceptions out in the town are a little bit bleak from some of the people that I speak to. You know, sometimes perception is reality, sometimes it's not. But I think that I can add value as somebody who's gone through this system, has great memories of going through this system, but also would like to have a voice in the direction and the future of where the school goes from here. So,
Cool, thank you. Have you been to Board of Education meetings in the past? If so, why? Or if not, why not?
yeah, I've been to a few. Early on, I mean, before my kids were in the school system, I was not. I work in the city long hours. Before COVID, it was not a 9 to 5 grind. It was more like a 7 to 7 grind. So finding time for that was a little difficult. Post-COVID, we've had the luxury of working remotely, a little bit of flexibility as far as when to go in. So time has allowed me to attend some of the meetings. Some of the meetings during COVID, I think, were very near and dear to me to see what was going on, some of the decisions that were being made, why were they being made. So I have attended some during that time frame, but none before that. No.
What experiences do you have with the schools? For example, child, grandchild, have attended the schools yourself?
Yeah. So
Go ahead.
So graduated in 2000. But like I said, was a lifelong resident. Have 2 kids in the district now. You know, one of the reasons why I live here in this town is because, like I said before, of the you know the fond memories I had as going through the school system. My kids love it. They don't have any complaints. Every teacher, principal, administrator that I've come in contact with have done a great job. My oldest son has ADHD. School has done a tremendous job in assisting him with his growth, open lines of communications, meetings. We have an RTA in place now, an RTI. I mean, everything that they've done so far has just been magnificent. So yeah, so I mean, the good memories that I have from a child are continuing on for my child, and I see that they're happy here. So that's it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What is an example of a challenge that you've overcome in your life, and how does that reflect on your character?
Personal or professional? I'd probably say professional. You know, not know. I'll try to make the story short, but not knowing what I wanted to be when I grow up, right? Like any middle teenage boy. I had a background in, thanks to my parents or my dad, in construction. And my dad was, you know, he was pushing me to go to college. I wasn't sure if it was for me. He said, you know, go to school. You can do anything you want, but as long as you're educated, it'll help you. So my uncle took me under his wing and said, you know what, let's get you in college. We're going to get you a job in the Secret Service State Department and go from there. So I forged this path to put all my eggs in one basket to go into this profession. And after my interview in Madison Square Garden at the age of 21, I was told that this wasn't going to work out for me. Wasn't really given a reason why. So I was kind of standing there left with a history degree and knowing that teaching probably wasn't in my calling, because that's what it is. What to do from there? So I started a business with my friend, a home improvement business, and realized that making money in that manner was terribly difficult. And one of my friends' dad asked me if he wanted to give finance a shot, and I said, you know, I kind of operated under the impression that if I could apply myself, I could do anything. So I said, sure, I'll give it a shot. And you know, I was kind of at that crossroads in my life where I was headed towards one career, it didn't work out, trying something else on my own, finding it extremely difficult, and gave finance a shot. And you know, 14 years later, it led me to being a senior vice president for Goldman Sachs, and having a pretty good professional career from there. So it was a scary moment there for a while. It was a couple of years struggle, but that was probably one that sticks out the most.
Okay, all right, thank you. How do you view the role of a Board of Education member?
It's not an envious position, I can probably tell you that. You know, I think watching a lot of news and meetings around the country as far as the decisions that the board has to make, and especially how political things have become. It's definitely a trying position and probably a thankless job, but I think it's an important job in the school system, and putting the children's best interests over personal interests, you know, are probably, you know, the most important thing. And from what I can see, everyone here is doing that. So yeah, I think it's an essential part of the community, and part of the school.
And then the last question is, how do you work with others? Can you give us an example of a time you had to work with others to reach a common goal? Yeah,
so most recently, as I mentioned, in my professional life, I work for Goldman Sachs. Goldman is everybody knows that they're in the news. They're a huge finance machine. What we've been tasked with recently is creating a department that's almost like a startup within Goldman, and it's really been taking a life of its own, and a lot of people from different walks of life, different financial firms, both extremely experienced like myself, and then a little bit more the unseasoned professionals coming out of college, and just being able to collaboratively put together all these ideas, work with people who are as knowledgeable and a little bit less knowledgeable than you in certain areas, and just learning and taking everybody's opinion into account, I think is extremely important, because sometimes people are thinking about things from a different lens than you may be accustomed to. So right now I'm going through it almost on a daily basis. So
Thank you.
yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Hi, how are you? Sorry, this
Yes, okay.
All right. Stacy, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Good, thank you for coming in and thank you for your interest. There's 6 questions. Get right to it.
I'm ready.
All right. The first question we have for you is, what interests you about the Board of Education position, and what makes you think you'll be good for the role? Please elaborate with examples.
Sure. The Board of Education would be, I think, a good fit for me. I'm going to start with, we don't have children. So I feel like I bring a fresh perspective. I come here with no agenda. My goal here is for the betterment of the school, which would also lead to higher property valuations, more people moving in, and just an overall better step for the town itself. I have experience in the daycare. I work for a property management company and real estate development company. One of their holdings is a daycare. I've been running that for about 6 years now. We struggled through COVID, and I feel like I can bring a lot of that experience from the daycare into the Board of Education.
Okay, thank you. Question 2 is, have you been to a Board of Education meeting before? If so, why? If not, why not?
I'm going to say honestly, no, I have not. My work schedule is very tough. I actually literally just got here. However, if I was selected to be on the board, I do have the capability to move my schedule around so that I could get here.
Okay. What experiences do you have with the schools? For example, children, grandchildren, have you attended the schools yourself, et cetera?
I'm new. Well, I've been living in Hopatcong now for 6 years. I came here, I married a lifelong resident of Hopatcong. So my husband, my sister-in-law, and currently my niece and nephew are in the school system. So I've attended different things. I was at the Tricky Tray in the parking lot, gone to some sporting events and whatnot. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. What is an example of a challenge that you've overcome in your life? How does that reflect your character?
Personally?
Or professionally, either one is fine.
Okay, well, I'll talk about the COVID experience at the daycare. At the time, we had 134 students at the school. As soon as COVID hit, the daycare had to close down. We had to spend a lot of time figuring out how to keep the daycare even going. I had the fear of what was going to happen to the staff, trying to make sure that they were able to be able to survive while the schools were closed down. We were able to get it together and find funding through EIDL loans, did the employee retention grants, a lot of different things. Then we opened the school again. We only have 34 kids. The next problem is, how do we keep this school open? How do we survive? How do we keep, we are the only school in Woodbridge that accepts subsidies, such as CCS and things like that. So we wanted to make sure that the children were still going to be able to attend once they were able to come back. It's still an ongoing struggle. Personally, I feel incredible that we were able to get through that, keep the school open and thrive. We're thriving again. So, very proud of that.
Okay, thank you. How do you view the role of the Board of Education member?
I feel the Board of Education, their first responsibility is to the children in the school, to make sure that they're getting the best education, be it so that they can go to college or even if they're going to do a labor job, anything. Secondly, there is a responsibility to the parents. I feel parents are a very important part and they need to be made aware of what's going on, and I feel as a member of the Board of Education, you should keep everyone together and functioning and working together for the school.
Okay, the last question is, how do you work with others? Can you give us an example of a time you had to work with others to reach a common goal?
I feel I work very well with others. I do feel one of the most important things about working in a group is you need to leave your ego at the door. You can't come in feeling bull in a china shop. You want everyone to work together well. There needs to be one leader. The leader should be selected. I work together on a finance team pretty much monthly on certain ad hoc projects at work. Usually teams of 5 or 6 people, men and women. It's in a construction industry. A lot of aggressive, sometimes angry people, but through speaking, communication, honesty, as long as everyone's speaking up front, directly to one another, we can accomplish any goal.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
All right, Mara, thank you for coming in. Thank you for your interest. 6 questions, and if you're ready, I'm ready. All right. First question is, what interests you about the Board of Education position? What makes you think you'd be good for the role? And please elaborate and provide examples for us.
Well, people have been telling me for years I should run for the board, but basically my kids were out of school and other things. And now I see the budgetary cuts. I'm excited about everybody getting together with the music school and how that's going to affect the town, because I think it's going to bring a lot of people in here. Because when it comes right down to it, people move, a lot of people move because of the schools. You know, they want the kids to go to a good school, so that's basically what interests me.
Okay, thank you. Second question is, have you been to Board of Education meetings before? If so, why? If not, why not?
Yes, I used to go a lot more than lately. The last one I went to was when he donated the music instruments over in high school. The council now have a liaison for the school system who actually gives us very accurate information. So unless there's something really going on that we want tweets or extra information for or whatever, we do get a very good report now where we didn't before. So if there's something like music getting donated or whatever, that's when you want to go.
Okay. Sounds good. What experiences do you have with the schools? For example, a child, a grandchild, have attended the schools yourself, etc.
Both my children started school here, both my children graduated school here. One of the teachers affected my daughter to the point where she actually got her master's in teaching. Not here, she's in New York. But you realize how much the teachers influence you. As a matter of fact, one of the teachers came in and signed a book, ASL sign, and my daughter became an nationally certified sign language interpreter. My son is a biomedical engineer, and he's got his MBA. They both graduated from schools. So I know what an effect the teachers have on the school, and I know what effect it has on the community. Oh, did you repeat the question? Was there?
Yeah, I mean, I'll read it again. But
Okay,
you feel good.
I was a substitute in the school system.
Yep.
I was a member of HEPTO. I know about IEPs. I know about the GIFT program. I also know about confidentiality. I know about Oprah requests.
All the good stuff.
Yeah.
Sorry. What is an example of a challenge that you've overcome in your life, and how does that reflect on your character?
Basically, my first challenge was I want to be kids. 7 out of 8. So my father died when I was 10, and I wanted to be a nurse, and it wasn't going to happen because financial reasons. My mother became one parent household. So I had to get a job. I had to support myself. I got a job that would pay for my school. Because my father always instilled in us the importance of school. He would take basket weaving, and I'd say, why? Because it was free. And he said, you never know if you get stranded on an island if you need basket weave. So it was like, he diversified. So got the job, paid for most of my education, but I had to get something where I could make money, so I went to industrial technology, graphic and design. And then I went back, after my kids got a little older, I went back and I got my nursing degree. So it shows that, you know, I can set goals and I can achieve my goals. And like sometimes it takes a little longer than you would hope, but it also teaches you patience.
Okay, thank you. How do you do the role of a Board of Education member?
Board of Education member is here to support and work with the superintendents. They're here to make sure that the teachers are supported in their role as teachers so that the kids can have the opportunity to get what they need so they can succeed. And you have to work together because I'm always part of, if you can't work together, you're not going to get the best outcome. And we want the best outcome for kids in schools.
Okay, and then the final question is, how do you work with others? Can you give us an example of the time you had to work with others to reach a common goal?
Well, I'm a member of the Medical Reserve Corps, and we were called in to do the vaccinations up at the fairgrounds. When we got called in, you didn't know where you were going to be, because they did move us sometimes from here to there, or the whole tent that got flooded or whatever. But it's also the whole county. So it didn't matter what your position, like you could be a nurse but not do nursing. They could put you out checking people in, or you could be out watching, making sure people waited the right amount of time. So you had to do everything quickly. We were trying to get as many people in and out as we could, efficiently, safely. And there were times when people were not so nice, and you have to get on with that too. But if you don't work together, you couldn't have got it done. So, and it was kind of interesting because it wasn't until we had to pick it at the end how much we realized we were going to miss each other.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate your time. Okay, do I have to announce that, or we can just?
I don't mind.
I think we have to vote on
I would appreciate
I'm not sure it needs.
a motion for me to go potty. Okay.
I'm gonna see if he's here, but.
I leave my phones behind. No nefarious intent, we'll just go potty. All right.
I answer. Test.
No, you're good, you're good. As soon as Joe comes back in, we'll go to exactly. Jeff saying he already emailed me. You got it. Crazy?
And I appreciate you.
I get like last one's not coming. That's just Joe, once you confirm, I'm gonna motion a second.
First name of the fourth candidate, nobody.
Good?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so just for my peers here, the last interview canceled, so we're now done with the interview part. We're gonna go into, for the public, we're gonna go into public comments now. So, if anybody would like to comment publicly, raise your hand if you haven't signed this sheet yet, because I wanna get everybody in that wants to be on here. Well, all right, when I call your name, just give me the thumbs up and I'll skip over it. All right?
You have break out?
Huh?
Let's
Okay. Yep. And I'll clarify that for now, it's only public comment as it relates to the interviews you just saw. No, you know, the other public comment will come later in the evening.
Take it in chunks.
Okay. So we're going to start with Kelly Brown. Kelly Brown?
Oh, as far as it pertains to the interviews?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm good.
Okay. Donna Dewey?
I don't have anything to say about it.
Okay. Maureen O'Hare?
Nothing to say about the interviews.
Okay. Linda?
No,
Dewey?
thank you. I'm over here. I know, I'm messing you up on the other side. No, thank you.
Okay. Tom?
No specific comment about any of the people. I know some of the issues that we're looking at as a board, so I think that is what really causes a lean towards one or the other, because they all are but nice people.
Thank you. Julia? Okay. Norma?
I don't have anything to say.
Okay. Brian?
I just had one question, not material necessarily, but I didn't catch all the first and last names.
Okay.
If you wouldn't mind.
That's fair. Kelly Gravatt was first. Joe Falcone was second. Stacy Hornick was third. Mara Modes was fourth.
Okay. And is Mr. Falcone related to Mrs. Falcone Schubert, who is on the board already? Are they related?
Yes, they are.
They are?
Brother and sister.
Okay.
And that's why she recused herself in the entire process.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay. And then Q? Williams?
I'll reserve mine.
Okay. All right, so, does anyone who's not on the list have any questions
Or have comments.
or comments?
That's the other thing.
Okay, thank you. All right, so can I have a motion for us to go back into executive
I make a
session?
motion to go back to the second.
Okay, thank you. Jeff?
It's a motion
To go back into.
to discuss the interviews, selection of 2 board member candidates.
Okay, and the motion was made by Ms. Goulan, seconded by Ms. Polachina. May call the roll. Ms. Goulan?
Yes.
Mr. Grunfelder?
Yes.
Mr. DiStefano? I gotta turn the volume up, Phil. Mr. DiStefano on the motion to go back into executive session. Ms. Turkington,
Yes.
Ms. Polachina,
Yes.
and Mr. Francis.
Yes, thank you. All right, we'll be back shortly, and that's subjective. Well, can I ask you for a favor? If people come in and just point me this thing, we'll do another.
Are you here in official capacity?
Yeah. She's gonna be delivering.
No, you forwarded.
It looks like invitation. Right, you okay? You okay? Just right. She's gonna give each of them and each has well, she told me. She told me. That's why I asked. I Sorry. Wait, so we're gonna. Is he able to do that? Okay. And I'm gonna take something.
So your COVID test is
Well, I don't Yes, so when I saw it was negative.
Where's your partner? Or is this They're not. That's not true. I just got a bus code. I was like 10 minutes ago.
They're waiting.
Yeah, where do you guys get all these orders from? And
So listen, the last time anyone mentioned it to me, which was today, today, she said we're having trouble finding
Six Flags. Me, woo-hoo. Just got that. Sorry.
Because we have no information about anything other than a parent texted and said that some teacher in the school said that it wasn't going. But that's
We didn't have a bus. Yeah, that and then we just
Well, that I didn't know. I didn't know anything until today.
Bus is like $600. Cost of the ticket. It's gonna be at least $100. So you have to, and I don't know if Miss Brennan was But that has to make sure that, because the price of the bus is more than one.
You should have your secretary chaperone. But when I first told you, okay, you have to time.
Which I'm fine. If it goes down by 100, I'm willing to pay. I just want this last year. Yes, but haven't had a field trip since 5th grade.
I mean, there's been really
And
no.
how is this moving ceremony? How do you want this? Do you really want me to time a middle school teacher in Parsippany? We have caps and gowns. I posted it. I mean, I have I sat up as a 6th grade teacher. Okay, but they haven't even last year. It was a 10-minute thing. Like my school, like has walk up, give them a speech. Like it's really nice.
I already made their program. I already made
Oh, you're talking about, I don't know what's going on with the 7th grade. Oh, I know that, did I add you to the 7th grade? No, you didn't. Okay, that's fine. So we're having 7th grade dance for them. I know he broke home in a invitation, probably at the park. It's gonna be late. So that's the only.
You have more of a chance to go in the gym. If it was you,
I know. For the what, the 8th grade?
For
7th grade. I know for Vincent's already. I'm not going. I'm like, what was that? I heard that they were all playing games about it, like running around the gym. It was boring. We're trying, and like, I'm trying to get the whole, baseball parents are trying to make the baseball kids go.
Listen, you have to.
Wow.
You have to listen. All the planning is done. All the planning is done. It's just like you don't want to put I forgot that.
But we're trying to, because we're trying. Antonio's in 8th already.
Yeah, I forgot
Vincent's in
that.
7th. So we're trying to. The baseball parents are going to try to see if we can make our kids go because none of them want to go. So I don't know, like maybe you guys need to make an announcement or something of sorts or something. Like gotta do something. But so far we're making their my 8th grade parents or my son's good. The 7th graders, a lot of them already. Now we're
Yeah, I can't be up in the middle school time yet, giving out, flyers. That's up to the kids. They have to like help each other.
I didn't hyper that baseball as much as the last
They all went.
No, the 8th graders go. I mean, at least my son and his friends, they're all going. They're excited.
But you know the thing is too, that there's always been someone in the school that's there that has to represent the work. There is no one in the building. You know, I mean,
There's
it is. I mean, you know, I can go over there, but they're probably not
So who is the 7th grade people?
The one that asked me about mine, so that to join in on the was Suzanne. No idea. Irina's collecting. She's collecting. Oh, you see, Irina.
Oh my God, Irina will get that. All right.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh my gosh, so I can tell her, so she's on that committee for 7th grade? All right, so I can tell her that she needs to hype up all the boys.
Yes.
And make them go somehow, or scare them into going, threaten them.
Sure. Well, then we can find out.
But how come it's not in the minutes?
What is
The 8th grade field trip.
Come to the 7th grade dance. Come to the 8th and 9th grade dance.
If you're out there listening, Dad, come here, they can see.
Can I stick my face in it? It's like,
Yeah, video dances, 7th graders come to the dance.
I don't know what.
Alright, we gotta go there.
Tyrena, since you're just doing medical for 7th grade dance. For her to put in a trip request, that's what come there. But that would have been months ago. But no, it's It's a Monday. No. That's gonna be a long day. It is. I mean, the seniors are doing a lot of stuff. It's really the seniors' graduation practice. There's you know what I then I had to take off.
yes, please, and tell me.
Well, we just got yes. So I need to Kelsey. We didn't get a permission slip. Right. Well, we were waiting for the bus. That was, we had to cancel. Well, that, yeah. We had a rain.
No, I didn't. I would
Well,
like
it
to
was
see it.
rescheduled.
I saw the
But there's been a lot.
1,000 schools or whatever. That's what I'm saying.
But yeah.
Okay, so it was just.
It was for that particular group. So the trip was canceled, but then they got a bus 2 days later.
Why you didn't troublemaker?
And then society was, I didn't know what last month.
One guy was really hard.
That was from Borough.
Typically, the squad leader is the strongest one to follow. Because whether he's right or wrong, he knows how to survive the situation. A weak squad leader.
He's the guy that has in the way.
Right.
When you look upon him,
You want to have Volunteer.
Neither do I have a raging migraine right now, so I know what's going on.
His Vietnam stories is just incredible. When he did it, because his mother, I was talking to her, mother and father died, and he was about 18, 17 when he had babies. And so he let him go into the military. Because he had no home anymore, but he fell in love with some girl, and he gets his orders in Vietnam, and she doesn't answer him. She got killed in a car accident. So, with those three events happening within like a year period, he was there. So it turned out that he was, sort of like one of the super soldiers on the front. If you put it back.
There are reports that are specific.
What he got,
So they will have that.
he had his cups of juice. No, that's another part of the
No,
story.
no, I know. I'm not the national
And you'll hear my Thursdays. By this Thursday. But the time has changed. Junior hour. Induction is at 10:45. And then senior, the regular one.
Yeah, I have that marked, but I don't know if you need it.
That's really great.
Don't keep him
Sorry.
that's not a but his son was so in love with his
Unless they are private,
It's so amazing.
but not.
Guys kept re-upping, and they ended up coming out with the other end. But most of the guys, what happens after about 3 they go on with that.
It depends, whether you get me ripped jeans or.
Went on. Could be there forever. But then they get warped because everything is.
So I didn't want to allow to remain.
No, I just figured, you know,
Range, 100 rounds, you know. But I can see that too, because if you decide that that's it, you gotta be the best you can be at it. For you.
Party at the Parthenon? Yes, are you helping?
I didn't see the whole thing. I did.
Next year, I would do it for 7 grade, so would that kind of happen?
See the whole thing.
Okay, good.
She can't stand that stuff. Matt was on. Yeah.
So she never had 2 parents. It's been a money. Their kids came up with it. Oh, great. So a lot of their friends said they all came with that too. And they just finished their
Yeah, I saw this.
Oh, is it like if we they can do it afterwards? They just said
I was about to see that because they know
working dresses also they say that.
We used to have a big field trip. We used to like last him for like 3 or 4 days. Yeah, he said, you know, bringing that stuff back. But we just got a bus. We're gonna call that her. They have a 6th grader. But all right, well, you go home. Yeah, okay, good. That's what I said. I'm like, come in. Great. And the kids What's the matter, like, just or whatever. John is all about doing kind of,
Yeah,
like,
she
making like the
makes
board, yeah.
I just emailed Joe because Joe approved the bus, well, the bus, just
to her in grade teacher.
but I don't know if I just put in what's this where I am?
Oh, fun.
Before she went to the bus.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I can't see why.
Right. She's the one that's gonna. I just meant like,
So we won't make that would have to be like a meeting.
oh, like a quick one.
We might, they were, we invited the board on Saturday and they knew they were there. Yeah, of course, yeah. So it's like, you know, what's in the packet. I'm sure, you know, Scott.
Frank called me before me, on my phone, she's never
No, I'm glad.
Get me around 7. I don't know. Well, who we do know.
But you know what it is? It's like ever since
I got it recorded and now I'm gonna be on Facebook. Yeah, like, really?
Because they're saying a lot of each other, that's why. It's going to be voice. That's not very
Can you rewind it to see what that is?
and then no, it's live stream. So, like, Tyrene is involved.
Okay, I wanna do that. Not sitting like here.
Or is that what it was? Well, I'm glad they're doing the trip. You gotta get a couple things to go and then we'll all start to go. Don't call it a dance, call it, you know what they do, they run all around.
That's what it's because
The guy never showed up. So Kathy and did the machine. She finally thought she was a machine. So he got tired of her. And the father said, would you like a real person? And so she got a real person.
Low party.
No, I enjoyed it.
That was one and done.
Oh, gave the same time to everybody that's there, so we didn't have enough text to go out to everybody. So thanks for everybody had that time slot available, and normally 2 or 3 people go, and it works out. Anyhow, of course, 2 or 3 people. And so marketing for us to text and I said to him, frankly, I'm not in the mood to talk to you, but I said, I'll let you talk to my wife, because she's talking super prep.
Yeah, Rob.
And so he's coming tomorrow now.
Rocco, because he plays out across like football player.
Unfortunately, we'll be home. You know, in a quasi-English format.
Yeah. And
but I need to know what the problem is. I said to him, I'm not going to tell you that, because I'm not a dad. I said, all I know is you're going to be approved, you coming out here, and that's all I really need to know. Ask the tech.
Right. Yeah, it's like TJ and Rocco when they're on the field together, at least 16.
So it's really difficult. It's our break today and anything, you spend the entire day on tank managers. Not sitting there.
They do 5 or 6 here Saturday. So Rocco's 5 6. And next year together for football. We have to. Oh, you're really like ours were at 2:15.
Better wake up.
It's interesting though, because it's not like how we normally play. This field is a lot smaller. And now, yeah, we're not going. We have 35 kids on our team, so I didn't feel bad about not going. So we're gonna go to the end. But we scored 3 goals, won every game. We never scored. So he's like, I like this smaller stuff. Faster pace, closer to the goal. But they do a good job. Program. It's nice to be able just to like show up and not have to do so much. Right? Oh, that's her son? Okay. Recruiting you? Yeah, he's one.
That's nice.
Yeah. Everyone's looking at, they do their job.
Yeah, well, I don't want to move in too much.
I reached out once and I was like, oh, you have like minutes from your meeting, I just kind of want to see what the next part's about. And they're like, the board's like, no, please tell me to volunteer, I'll show up. Yeah, I'll work as a signer. So I'm talking about that. Are you going to have to care tomorrow? Right between all of the kids and all of their things. Oh yeah, so there you go. And that's all year, right? It's very easy to make a job. But I feel bad because like I used to do a lot of that much time. I gotta find like another.
All the way at
She woke up from her nap. I was like, I wasn't too lucky.
She had reached out to me and asked if I wanted to go. So I did not. Right. Which me. I will leave it for like management. But the actually like stunting and cheering, she probably even knows All right, good to see you guys.
All right, everyone, thank you. We're coming back to this in a little while, so if there's anyone that wants to speak during public comment the next time around, please raise your hand now and I'll get you.
Are we doing before and after?
No, we're just going to do it one time.
Just before.
Yep. All right, thank you everyone for being patient with us, and I'm going to ask for a motion to reconvene.
I move.
Second.
Thank you, Jeff, please call the roll.
Ms. Falcone Schubert,
Yes. Or here.
Ms. Gulon, Mr. Grunfelder,
Here.
Mr. DeStefano is now absent. Ms. Turkington,
Yes.
Ms. Polachina,
Yes.
and Mr. Francis.
Yes, thank you. Okay.
The next thing that's going to happen is the board is going to vote to fill the 2 vacancies. I just want to clarify any misperceptions as to the length of the terms those candidates will fill, because it's a little counterintuitive. Technically, the board is not filling a vacancy in the term of the board member who resigned. It's filling the seat on the Board of Education. And for that reason, the person selected to be a new member will only serve until the next organizational meeting. If they wished to remain on the Board of Ed, they would have to run for election in November. At that time, there will be 4 seats up. There will be 3 regular terms because one of the vacancies would actually have been running in November anyway, and the other one was Dr. Schindler's seat, and that has 1 more year remaining on the term. If anybody wanted to run for that, they actually have to run for that specific seat, which is a 1-year unexpired term, or board member light, as we call it.
All right, thank you, Rich.
And we're going to vote for 1 seat at a time. And we'll go around the dais. Each person will specify who they are voting for the particular seat. So,
Okay, and before we do that, I want to thank everyone who came here and ran and put in their name to be on the board. I'm speaking for my peers right now as well as myself. We appreciate your interest, and thank you again. So with that, we're going to vote first to fill seat A. And Jeff, if you wouldn't mind just going through the names, and everybody's going to place a vote for who they would like to fill seat A.
Absolutely. So for seat A, I'll go from left to right across the dais. I'll start with Mr. Grunfelder. Mr. Grunfelder, your vote for position number 1?
Mr. Falcone.
Mr. DeStefano is absent. Ms. Polachina,
Kelly Gravatt.
I'll say Mr. Francis for last. Ms. Falcone, Ms. Schubert abstains. Ms. Gulon,
Kelly Gravatt.
Ms. Turkington,
Kelly Gravatt.
and Mr. Francis.
Kelly Gravatt.
Position number 1 then, by vote, is awarded to Ms. Kelly Gravatt for the remainder of the time period until the board reorganizes in January.
All right, now we'll just repeat the process for the second seat.
And I'll follow the same order. Mr. Grunfelder, your vote for position number 2?
Yes, that would be Mr. Falcone.
And Ms. Polachina?
Joseph Falcone.
Ms. Falcone Schubert? Ms. Gulon?
Joseph Falcone.
Ms. Turkington?
Joseph Falcone.
And Mr. Francis?
Joseph Falcone. Thank you, Jeff. All right, so we're coming right into item 6 on the agenda, which is the appointment of board members to fill the vacancies. I'm just going to read through this because I think it's important. After considering 5 candidates to fill positions vacated by Dr. Sarah Schindler, the Board of Education wishes to appoint Kelly Gravatt pursuant to NJSA 18A 12-15. Because these vacancies are being filled prior to the 3rd Monday in July, the successful candidates will serve only until the organizational meeting following the next annual school election. Item B, after consulting 5 candidates to fill the position vacated, and I'm sorry, it's not 4. vacated by Mr. Alex McLean. The Board of Education wishes to appoint Joseph Falcone pursuant to NJSA 18A-12-15. Because these vacancies are being filled prior to the third Monday in July, the successful candidates will serve only until the organizational meeting following the next annual school election. Can I please have a motion to approve 6A?
I motion to approve 6A.
Thank you, Jana. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, hearing no discussion, Jeff, please call the roll.
Ms. Gulon?
Yes.
Mr. Grunfelder?
Yes.
Mr. DeStefano is absent. Ms. Falcone Schubert?
Abstain.
Ms. Polachina?
Yes.
Ms. Turkington?
Yes.
Mr. Francis?
Yes. Thank you, Jeff. Item 7, we will administer the oath of office to our newly appointed board members, and congratulations to you both. Let's administer.
If I can have Ms. Gravatt and Mr. Falcone come forward, please. I state your name, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
I, Kelly Gravatt, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
I, Joe Falcone, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and to the governments established in the United States and this state,
and to the governments established in the United States and this state,
and to the governments established in the United States and this state,
under the authority of the people, so help me God.
under the authority of the people, so help me God.
and under the authority of the people, so help me God.
I state your name, do solemnly swear that I possess the qualifications prescribed by law
I, Kelly Gravatt, do solemnly swear that I possess the qualifications prescribed by the law
I, Joe Falcone, do solemnly swear that I possess the qualifications prescribed by law
for the office of Member of Board of Education,
for the office of Member of Board of Education,
for the office of Member of Board of Education,
and that I am not disqualified as a voter pursuant to RS 19-4-1,
and that I am not disqualified as a voter pursuant of RS 19:4-1,
and that I am not disqualified as a voter pursuant to RS 19:4-1,
nor disqualified due to conviction of a crime or offense listed in NJS 18A-12-1.
nor disqualified due to conviction of a crime or offense listed as NJS 18A-12-1,
nor disqualified due to conviction of a crime or offense listed in NJS 18A-12-1,
And that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform all of the duties of that office according to the best of my ability. So help me God.
and that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform all of the duties of that office according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
and that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform all duties of the office according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Congratulations to both of you. Welcome to the Board of Education.
All right.
Yes. Yes. Thank you for pointing that out.
All right. Welcome. You just made it through the hardest part of being a board member.
I don't know if it's that consistent or not. I apologize if I was
It's all good.
delay.
All right, item 8, approval of minutes. We have, let's just see what it says, just A and B. Can I have a motion to approve items 8, A, and B?
I'll move it.
Okay, do we have a second? Thank you. Any discussion on item 8, A and B? Okay. Hearing none, Jeff, please call the roll.
Ms. Falcone Schubert,
Yes.
Ms. Gulon,
Yes.
Mr. Grunfelder,
Yes.
Mr. DeStefano is absent, Ms. Turkington,
Yes.
Ms. Polachina.
Yes.
Now for both of our new board members, I'm going to call on each of you as part of the roll call. Obviously, you were not part of the Board of Education at that time. You'll need to abstain on those items, all right? Mr. Falcone
Abstain.
and Ms. Gravatt
Abstain.
and Mr. Francis.
Yes. Thank you, Jeff. Okay, item 9, Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. President, and congratulations to our new members. Welcome. There are a lot of moving pieces tonight, and so I appreciate your patience in some of the logistics of the evening. Yes, we do have a live stream. Some people like that, some people don't. No, I'm just joking. So that is the camera over there, so please just be aware of that. I tell you that because that is one of the first things in the first readings of policy that is changing how we're doing recording of meetings. So we will be live streaming it, and then it will be going on our website for view in the future, so that if you miss it, you can always see it. But I also say that because any of your comments likely may be picked up forever on the live stream, and so word of warning. I want to congratulate two of our student representatives. As we discussed a couple board meetings ago, beginning in September, we're going to have student representatives on our Board of Education. That means they're going to come to our meetings, they're going to participate in our discussions. They're not going to be voting members, but they're going to be a member in any other respect. And we're really thrilled to have Lana Coco and Julia Santiago here to represent us. Thank you. Thank you. I also want to mention that the Governor's Educator of the Year luncheon just happened recently at, where was this? I can't remember where. Lafayette Village, right. And I have to, I just have to mention that I had a great time with all the folks that were honored. We had a great crew there. I got to sit next to my buddy Dolores, sitting there in the back. But I want to go ahead and just say the names of these folks. Noticing the first name you see is Mike Batchy, who was honored as an award recipient, but you know that we lost him earlier this year. And so I wanted to have a moment of silence for Mike Batchy. Thank you. Also Tish Anthus, Ruthie DeSalvia, Sue Walco, Melanie Baracaro, Dolores Kennedy, Laura Benetti, Jen Valenti, and Sean Alongo, who was our county teacher of the year, was there as a guest speaker. So we really ran the show there, and it was really exciting to represent our county that way. A couple exciting things going on. Yes, there was I had the pleasure of going to the middle school and high school concert the other day, which was a lot of fun. Books and Beyond is happening. There are field days and fun days happening, all these end of the year events, which is really nice to see a lot of these coming back. I went to a concert at Durban. It was outside, but it was a beautiful day, and it was great to see all the families there. It's great to see parking lots packed with parents. That makes me happy. As a reminder, graduation is June 15th. Father's Day is coming up, and I just want to make sure I give a shout out to all the dads, granddads, godfathers, uncles. You know, you play an important role in the work that we do as a school, because we do see our role as partnering with families. And as a father, I appreciate the work that you do to help your children, our students, each and every day. A couple other points. There is a policy 2240 is included in the first readings, and it is a regulation of a current policy that we're proposing. And that was what we had been discussing at the previous meeting over really a two-sentence regulation that reflects 2240, which is controversial topics. So, namely, what you're gonna see in that first reading is a recognition that the concept of transgenderism and the concept of sexual identity is a controversial topic, and as per that controversial topic, the regulation is what we're talking about for the first reading. So, namely that we won't be teaching another sex other than male and female until the 6th grade. Now, we are going to teach other things within that curriculum, such as tolerance and those topics, but we won't be directly talking about any other sexes beyond male and female until the sixth grade. Until the 6th grade. So I understand that's a little bit confusing that it's a regulation of a policy, but hopefully that makes sense. Also, every once in a while someone will approach me about rumors, quote unquote rumors. And so I want to address rumors generally speaking. First off, I've been collecting some frequently asked questions that I get via email, and what I'm planning to do is meet with one of our local news media representatives and go through some FAQs. Like, here are the most common things that fill my inbox, and here are the answers straight from the horse's mouth. I think that will be helpful, and you'll see that come out fairly soon. I will invite you though, and I realize I'm talking a little bit preaching to the choir, so I'll talk to the folks here at home. This is fun. If you have a question for me, please email me, call me. Many of you I know have communicated with me. I do respond to emails. So I guess long gone are the days that you have to wait. I'm happy that you're here at a meeting, trust me, but long gone are the days that's the only time you can talk to the superintendent is at a board meeting. You definitely can call me, you can email me. Many of you and I had some really fun conversations in the past couple of weeks, and that's really good for me. The other thing I wanted to mention is buses. If you saw the agenda go out originally, you might have seen that we were going to purchase some buses. We had discussed this at the last meeting, and we pulled it off, and so some of you might say, well, where did the buses go? The context on that is in having some conversations with some of our board members, I hope he doesn't mind me saying, but namely Jerry, mentioned the benefits of having a 5-year lease purchase over a 7-year. We had a great conversation, we looked into that, and we do see some added benefits to doing that. So we were going to send out to have bids come in for that, new kind of specs. And then I was speaking with Mr. Hallenbeck, and he recognized that there were a couple of buses the co-op was hoping to purchase as well. So between the conversation I had with Mr. Gruenfelder, the conversation I had with Mr. Hallenbeck, there became an opportunity to actually combine forces on those and lower our rate even more with that 5-year term. So I appreciate your patience on that. Some of you were hoping to see that here tonight, but that will be on next month's, and I believe, Jeff, when is the date of that bid?
We'll have bid openings on June 10th, which is a Friday.
Okay, awesome.
Doctor?
Yes.
One quick. I'd like all of you to know that this is a tremendous step forward in purchasing buses and running a fleet. I initially made the contact, then I forwarded the information to the superintendent. He followed up with Mr. Hallenbeck, and we're going to put a program in place whereby we can refresh our fleet with brand new buses every 5 years. When the item appears on the agenda, we'll have an explanatory sheet for you so that you can see the numbers and you can see the rationale. But I'm very happy that the administration did listen and did follow up on that. So I have to thank you, Dr. McGraw.
Thank you. So yeah, if you hadn't gone to meetings in the past, And I'm just gonna summarize a little bit tonight, just for the benefit of the recording and the people watching at home that might not have seen a meeting. As Mr. Gruenfelder is alluding to, the prospect of running our own fleet, it does give us more control on the quality that you're gonna get. A lot of parents and grandparents have expressed concern over the quality of the transportation this past year. I've had many conversations with y'all. This is a way that we can run it in-house, and then when you have a problem with transportation, I have a way to fix it, rather than saying, I know it stinks, you know what I mean? Hopefully that will be helpful, and yes, I believe that we can save money and actually make some money in the future with this proposition. Last thing, and this is another kind of frequently asked question, but regarding the process for these meetings. I said this at the last meeting, but for the purposes of summarizing, recently, a couple of months ago, it might have been 3 or 4 months ago, we switched to opening at 5:30. We had always started executive session at 5:30, but in the past, we had not opened in public with fidelity. So we are now trying to open in public at 5:30, go immediately to executive, and then come back for the public. Now, some people have been frustrated by that because they say, well, when does the meeting really start? You came out at 6:45, or you came out at 7:15. And I can understand that being uncomfortable for those of you that want to be here in person. Hopefully, now that we have this live stream, if you miss a few minutes of it, you can just watch the recording and it's not going to be as crucial for you. But what we're going to try to do, in talking with Scott, was we're going to try to see if we can start executive for us at 6. We obviously would have to publicize this again for some of the future meetings, go right into executive, and then try to come out right at 7. Even if that means we go back to executive at the end and finish some conversations, and that is what you'll likely see tonight, because we didn't want you to sit here waiting all night. So what you'll see at the end of the meeting is we'll cover all the things on the agenda, you'll get your public comments, and we won't close, but we'll go back to executive just to finish our conversations, and there'll be no action taken after that meeting, after that session. We'll just come back and close the meeting. This way you can get home and you can go on with your life. I hope that works for everybody, and if we need to adjust and change, we'll make those adjustments. I apologize for what was a lengthy report, but last moment is just letter B, which is we did do the second reading for the HIBs from last month and the first reading for this month. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Joe. Open with fidelity is what really stuck out. I like that. Open with fidelity.
I'm criticized for my vocabulary
I love
often.
it. I love it. Okay, so can I please have a motion to approve item 9, A and B?
I'll make the motion. I'll second.
And a second, and any discussion on the superintendent's report? Okay, I just have some discussion. Thank you, Jerry, and thank you, Joe, and Jeff for doing the whole bus deal. It's a lot of work behind the scenes. And Jeff, please call the roll.
Can I say one thing?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
There is one other event happening at the high school, it's National Honor Society inductions on June 2nd, which is a big deal. And we opened it to juniors. Wow.
And 8th and 9th graders.
Oh, wow. So there's a whole, that's another event coming up.
Excellent. All right, any other discussion on item 9? Okay, hearing none. Jeff, please call the roll.
On the motion by Ms. Falcone Schubert, seconded by Ms. Turkington. Ms. Falcone Schubert, your vote?
Yes.
Ms. Goulan?
Yeah.
Mr. Falcone?
Yes.
Mr. Gruenfelder?
Yes.
Mr. DeStefano is absent. Ms. Turkington?
Yes.
Ms. Polachena?
Yes.
Ms. Gravatt?
Yes.
And Mr. Francis?
Yes. Okay, thank you, Jeff. Item 10, acknowledgments and correspondence. I'm just going to read through these. Hopefully some of these folks are on the line. And if anyone's here, stand up when I call your name and we'll give you a shout. Following students were chosen as Hopatcong High School Students of the Month for their outstanding performance in April of 2022. Grade 8, Ernie Dominguez. Congratulations, Ernie. Grade 9, Jake Levis. Congratulations, Jake. Grade 10 is Mackenzie Mower. Congratulations, Mackenzie. Grade 11 is Jonathan Karam. Congratulations. And grade 12 is Michael Martinez. Congratulations, Mike. Item B.
Mr. Chairman, before you go, I don't know if it's past practice, but would the board consider sending letters to these youngsters?
I signed some
and-
certificates today.
They do.
I believe. So-
We have certificates of that.
Sometimes the students even show up and we do a handshake.
And then they get their face and name on Twitter.
A lot more common when Anthony was here. They don't, he's much better looking than I am. All right. Item B, the following students were chosen as Hopatcong High School Scholar Athletes of the Month for their outstanding performance in April of 2022. For softball, Sydney Henderson, senior. Congratulations. And for baseball, James Kirshner, sophomore. Congratulations. And with that, is there a motion to approve item 10, A and B? Jana, is there a second? All right, Jen, any discussion on these items, 10, A and B? Hearing none, Jeff, please call roll.
Ms. Falcone Schubert?
Yes.
Ms. Gulon?
Yes.
Mr. Falcone?
Yes.
Mr. Grunfelder?
Yes.
Mr. DeStefano is absent. Ms. Turkington?
Yes.
Ms. Polachena?
Yes.
Ms. Gravatt?
Yes.
Ms. Polachena? My God. And Mr. Francis?
Yes, sir, thank you. All right, item 11, parent-teacher organization representatives. Do we have any here that would like to speak?
I just found out about this, which is super great. So parents are organizing the 7th grade dance, and Hepta is helping sponsor it. Actually, Dr. Pickerel and I were talking that we need to start to get back to these things. So, all y'all parents and kids out there, on Monday nights at Dunkin' Donuts from 7:30 to 8:30, Tyrena Citric is going to be at Dunkin' Donuts selling tickets. It's $15 at the door, $10 pre-sale, and the theme is Party at the Parthenon. Right, and the kids picked it. So it'll be a great send-off before they head over to 8th grade. And I know Ms. Martinez said the 8th graders are going on a field trip, hopefully soon, to Six Flags. So it's so nice to have all these things. And I know Tulsa Trail is having their Books and Beyond drive-through this week, and Durban had it last week, and they're doing book fairs too. So hopefully next year we can do more and continue, building these traditions that we've missed for the
If
last
you
4
don't,
years.
if you don't mind, one of the things that when Nicole and I spoke about this, and I actually had a conversation on the phone, just not that long, probably an hour before our meeting started with a parent. I've been here now 3 years. When my first year was the first year of COVID. So understand that me personally, have not been a part of some of the traditions that I know Hopatcong families sometimes talk to me about. So when we were talking, I said, look, some people will come to me and they'll say, why don't we have this anymore? And I said, when did we have that? And they'll say, well, we had it for years and years. I said, well, it's not for nothing, not my first year here, it's my 3rd year here. I've never seen that before. And now I'm recognizing in these conversations, it's only because we had COVID every single year I've been here. So what I'd like is I'm reaching out now to y'all. If some of you would like to talk to me on the phone or meet with me and go through some of these things that are very important, traditions in terms of events or field trips or dances, I would like to know that from you so that I can make sure that we put a priority on that, because I don't want anything to get lost that is really valued by the community. So.
Awesome, thank you.
Yay. Do you have high school stuff?
High school PTO had their tricky tray on Saturday. I don't know the total take, I'll have that message by 8 o'clock. But I know that the winner of the 50-50 walked away with almost $1,600 in their pocket.
Wow.
So it was a lot of money, so it was a good treat tonight. And a lot of hard work from our PTO. And the classes, each individual class within the high school actually will receive 10% of the profits of that tricky tray. So thank you to all of the family members that donated baskets for that event. And thank you to all the parents and the teachers that came out to help support that event. because it was a huge success and it was wicked hot. But everybody worked really, really hard.
One of the reasons why it's such a success is for parent volunteers. And we desperately need more parent volunteers to get involved. Otherwise, we can't do big events like this.
Yeah, so thank you to everybody for having me. And we'll bring on more.
All right.
That's it, thank you.
Thank you. All right, do we have a motion to approve?
I'll move.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? I just have a quick discussion. I want to just point out, and I won't do this between every section, I promise, but I think this one is very important. As you're listening, I hope everybody's picking up on the interaction between what you just heard, Joe and Jerry, Joe and Nicole, right? You've got a group of people up here that are very, very active. I get to sit here with the gavel, but these people are doing the work, right? So I think let's give them and the parent volunteers a round of applause for all of you who are here participating. That's how you build community, and that's how you build a school district. So let's all clap for ourselves, right? Thank you all. Okay, any other discussion? Okay, Jeff, if you don't mind, please call a roll.
Actually, Mr. President, would you like a roll call, or this can be a simple voice vote?
Let's voice vote it.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for saving us some time, Jeff. All right, public comment. I'm gonna go, if anybody walked in after I stole the clipboard and you'd like to speak, please raise your hand now so I can add you to the list. All right, Kelly Brown.
Can I just stay here? So I think that we've all kind of heard rumors, I guess. We were gonna address that anyway. So I'm seeing here, second and third grade are moving. So that was kind of one of the rumors that I heard. A lot of times there's smoke where there's fire, there's fire in the background. So I'm just wondering how much is rumor and how much isn't rumor. So we already lost one school, and we didn't really feel anything like huge come out of that. We didn't see any real big benefits come from the sale of that property. I understand that COVID kind of moved in on us. We were already having issues. It exacerbated everything, and now we're losing more resources. I mean, we're losing teachers faster than my kids lose socks during the week. I mean, it's becoming an issue. One of the biggest issues is that we are condensing so many schools. We're dropping down to so few teachers that our kids have less options to take classes with other teachers. So if a student has failed with one teacher, okay, and can't learn through the process to which that teacher is teaching, they have no option to go outside of that. And we haven't been guaranteed that there's any resources coming in or any room in the budget for any extra resources to come in for those struggling children, because they were struggling before COVID, they struggled during COVID, and now we're seeing this huge shift in the school. We have no idea where we're gonna be in a year or two. We have no idea what education is gonna look like in this town, and we have no guarantees of anything. Also, shifting these grades in the schools. Have you discussed anything with any of the parents from the 8th graders who you moved into the high school? Because if you haven't, I would suggest you start putting out a discussion for all parents who had to have their younger children in the high school and how detrimental that was to their learning process and their development, because it's a serious issue. And if you plan on moving any other children, like the 7th grade, into the high school, I guarantee you should talk to those parents and figure out what those students' needs are before you move them into an older environment. There are many issues going on in the high school right now that when you add younger children to it, it's going to be an issue. We were told as parents in the beginning that they were not going to be integrated as much as they are actually integrated. You have 8th graders being taught and treated like high schoolers, and it's inappropriate. So I don't understand where our taxes are going, because our taxes are raising. We're losing a second building, we're condensing schools, we're losing teachers, and everyone wants to say, show up to a meeting. I canceled tonight's practice for my team, because I'm a volunteer coach, to at least have one parent show up, because we can't make it to practices. You guys are sitting here talking about volunteers. We're out there volunteering. We are out there volunteering and supporting our children and supporting this town, while you guys are sitting here making decisions that we don't know about. If it wasn't for the rumors, none of us would know and none of us would be here for it. So I don't understand what the disconnect in communication is, but
but the people of this town are not getting the information disseminated appropriately. So if you guys are spending money or holding money from Hudson Maxim School, we need to know that you are withholding that money for another project. If you took that money and you're holding it for the buses, we deserve to know that because we're not seeing it anywhere else. There needs to be transparency in Hopatcong. There is an issue within the last 10 years that we have seen a huge decline in resources in education. So if we are not going to start addressing it, then I don't know what anyone else is going to do. Do you see the enrollment numbers going down? You have council members who are making decisions for Hopatcong who are taking their children out of the district for charter schools and everything else. Everyone is leaving. So I don't know what your guys' plan is going forward on how this is going to work, but I can tell you right now that we haven't felt any positive change from losing Hudson Maxim, and we have felt detrimental issues for moving 8th graders into the high school. So I don't know what we're going to do moving forward, but transparency is key, and we would appreciate somehow this information getting out to the people who can't make it to these meetings, who don't have the time, or even just the accessibility issue of being able to be here and ask a question. Have you ever put it out to people who are disabled in the community that they should be allowed to have a Zoom link maybe? Maybe to have Zoom meetings? Because there are people who don't have transportation. There's single parents whose voices aren't being heard because they're home with 3 kids and they can't get online and make a comment, a live comment. They can't be here to stand up for themselves. So accessibility is still going to be an issue when you move the public comment. It's still going to be a major issue. Do you have closed captioning on there? On live feed? It is on live feed? Because it wasn't, there was quite a few meetings that did not have closed caption. So accessibility for people with disabilities in this town who also want their voices heard is a huge issue. So I just hope that we have a plan, a transparent plan going forward. And if this is what we're talking about here, we're already talking about shifting grades, then it's not rumors, it's facts.
Thank you. Thank you, Kelly. Appreciate your passion. And we will be transparent, I promise. Donna Dewey.
I'm going to piggyback on her.
Okay.
This is my daughter, by the way. So she graduated, I moved here 35 years ago. I've been in this community 35 years. I raised her and my son there. She graduated. My son just graduated 10 years ago. I can't tell you the difference between this school from 10 years ago, which I loved this town. When I moved here, I loved this town. I moved from a city, and I loved having all this room. I loved raising my kids here. I mean, they could walk, we always had a boat. We're on the lake. Used to have the CYO club, but now there's $500,000 townhouses at the end of my street, which, by the way, they all got a tax break, which is why we didn't get a benefit, because they needed to get people to come in and buy $500,000 townhouses, 2-bedroom townhouses. There's a ton of them at the end of my street. They all got a tax break. So they didn't contribute to our schools, but you know what? All their kids, these millionaires, all their kids are going to charter school because they don't really care about Hopatcong. They just got their little townhouses on. Anyway, 10 years ago, this wasn't a bad school system. My son graduated from here. He's successful. She's successful. And now I'm looking at my granddaughters. They're in high school. 8th grade, 9th grade. 8th graders have no business being in the high school. She's right. What the hell are you thinking? 8th graders in the high school. And now you're thinking about putting 7th graders there? I think as parents, we all know that kids from middle school to high school, each year they mature. Maturity. Maturity is what counts in high school. By the time you're 14, 15, you're really not that mature, but you're getting there. 8th graders, 7th graders? Not mature enough to be in high school. And then I had my 8th grade granddaughter talking about vaping in the bathroom. And I said, they're vaping in the bathroom. She goes, yeah, not just tobacco, they're vaping marijuana there. I said, so how's everybody's, I said, what are there, gangs? She said, yeah. She said, large groups of people. But I said, why isn't that being monitored? She said, there's not enough resources. The teachers, barely enough teachers in the classroom, let alone resources to be in the bathroom watching all the kids vape. I said, well, what else are you? It just, I'm not even going to go into it. It boggles my mind that my 8th grade granddaughter is telling me what's going on in high school. And you wanna put 7th graders in there, enjoying all the vaping going on in the bathrooms? Put a couple monitors in there, get the janitor to go in and stop what's going on in there. These are 8th grade kids. Even the high schoolers, okay, they're a little older, they can choose, but not 7th and 8th. Don't do it, just don't do it. I mean, and like she said, the heck happened? We sold the school, we made no money, my taxes are going up. Now you're gonna close another school that we don't have to pay the electricity and we don't have to pay the taxes, get rid of the school. Where's the money going? The buses? The buses? We're not gonna have kids to bus after a while. People are leaving, they're going to Lenape. Are we busing them to Lenape? Is that why we need new buses? Because we need to get all the kids over to Lenape? This was a great school. Lenape's better. It's a better school. We go there for, my other granddaughter is in track. And we go to Lenape for track, or we go to any other school for track. And they're like, wow, these bleachers are really nice. Yeah, look at our bleachers. Right? We're sitting at Lenape. She goes, wow, this is like I said, yeah, no kidding. She said, can we go here? I said, there's a waiting list. You can't get in anymore. There's a waiting list because everybody wants to leave this school system. What are you doing to make it better? That's what I want to know, besides buying buses. And besides sitting here all night doing, I'm not sure what you're doing. But do something good for the kids. Get something moving in this town. But get it back. The new Hopatcong? Is the new Hopatcong better than the old Hopatcong? I don't think so.
Okay, thank you, Donna.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Maureen O'Hare?
Good evening, all. I have some concerns as a taxpayer and a member of this community for 36 years. With regards to Tulsa Trail School, I feel it is not in this community's best interest to sell or close the building. As there are young families moving into our town with many children, what happens when enrollment increases? I know there's been talk of possibly building onto other buildings. Okay, where is the money coming for that? Class sizes are going to be overloaded, and it's a fact. 2nd and 3rd grade students are developing their reading and writing skills at this age. This is a crucial time for their academic success. 2nd grade, 3rd grade classrooms should not have more than 20 students in them. I thought we were trying to improve on our test scores and improve on our district's overall education rating. Overloaded classes are not beneficial to our students. I understand that Tulsa Trail was not supposed to be a school. However, I feel that its 30-plus years, in existence, has proven that statement false. It has been and still is a great school with an impeccable reputation. The staff puts forth 110% every day. And I am very proud to be part of that wonderful, dedicated, and caring staff in this community. Please, please reconsider your decision to sell Tulsa or close it. I don't think it's going to be beneficial. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda?
Hi, first, thank you for the policies. I appreciate that. 2 things happening in the guidance I just wanted to talk about. So June 7th is going to be the senior awards night. So hopefully some of you can make it. I know it's crazy, but you'll all be getting the invitations. And then we always do a college signing for our students going to college to play sports. This year, Mrs. Martinez said, why don't we do that for the military? And so we did that for the first time this year. Thank you, Mrs. Martinez, for suggesting that. We got to see two young gentlemen sign up for the Marines, so it was really fun. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Tom?
Yeah. I keep hearing all this stuff about finance and all. I think the board already accepted the budget report. But I haven't seen it, and maybe I have to ask for it, but I don't know really quite where to go with this comment, because we keep talking about money, and I didn't see anything that shows us the audit report you guys approved. So maybe I just missed the whole thing, you know, that's possible too. So, whatever you can help me with that.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Julie?
So on behalf of the high school, Lon and I would like to invite our board members and administrators to the National Honor Society and National Junior Honor Society, which will be taking place on the evening of Thursday, June 2nd, 2022 for the convention. So we're just going to stand them out real quick and then I'll just speak.
Yeah.
Lana, do you want to introduce yourself to the board? We met Julia before.
Hi, I'm a sophomore. I recently got elected as one of the student representatives for the board this year, so I'm excited to be involved in this opportunity.
Sorry, just to put you on the spot.
You did a good job.
We got some people out, so do you want us to put them in the mailbox for them? Lon? Do you want us to put them in the mailbox for the people that aren't here? They've got
one more time, right?
Who's the board?
Yeah, Miss Miller.
Oh,
There she is.
how's that sound?
You're already getting places.
Oh, Phil. All right.
Yeah. Julia, you're up.
So I'd like to speak as a student who's been going through the school system while all the really big changes are happening. I've definitely noticed the shift because there were a lot of things that were happening before COVID. But I feel we're not giving enough credit where credit is due. We have cosmetology program, we have the construction program, we have a lot of programs that are actually, which is not acknowledged, keeping students in the school. So whereas we have, you know, kids going to Lenape because there are more options, we still have kids that are coming in. I mean, even now, I've had numerous new classmates, and I'm like, wow, there are a lot of people coming in. We had maybe 500 students at the beginning of the year. Now we might have close to 520, which may not seem like a lot, but 20 students, that's an entire class worth of students. I feel our community and the schools and everything that we have done in the last 3 years, where there have been a lot of really important vital changes, has been doing really well, considering that we're not very large schools. We're not Lenape. We don't have the space they do. We don't have the facilities they do. But we're still doing as well as we can for a school of our size, and I really feel we should appreciate that. In terms of the 8th graders moving up, when I was in the middle school, there was vaping going on, and that was like 6th, 7th grade. So moving your kids up, I understand the concern. However, it's going to follow them wherever they go. So changing the environment a little bit, I really don't think is going to protect them in the way that you want them to. And I can speak as, I hope, a role model for some of the 8th graders. I've seen a lot of them really flourish with a lot of positive older figures in their life that are close to their age. So I feel, maybe 7th graders don't need peers that are 12th graders, because it's a bit of a gap. But I feel if that change were to come, the students would do a really good job making them feel welcome, and it really would show some positive benefits, because everything is about going through changes and how we handle it. I think we handle everything we've gone through really well, and I just wanted to point that out to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
What is much prefer to listen to you than to them. So I would like you to come to every one of our meetings.
She will.
Let us know what's going on.
Jerry, she's on the board now.
Thank you very much.
I'm not joking. Thank you. Norma, talk back to follow, but you're up.
Well, to piggyback everybody else, as a parent who's very involved in, my kids are very involved in sports and in the community, lately has been a whirlwind of like chitter chatter and a lot of rumors. So basically all I want to like tell you guys is just make those parents who are jumping ship have a sense of comfort when all these big changes are going. Like, what are we going to do? Like, yes, we may be going through some big changes in this town, but communication is the key. Like, make them feel more comfortable, because a lot of them are just jumping ship without getting the research and without asking questions, which is why I'm here, because I'm so tired. Hey, did you know, or did you? I'm so done, and I'm here. The others that are not, but if they're jumping ship, what are we going to do to try to keep students that are leaving? Maybe send out another survey of how can parents help make this school system in their eyes declining. My personal experience with my children, I have an 8th grader and a 7th grader, they love it here. There's no way, unless we move out of state, that they're gonna go somewhere else, because I'm a middle school teacher myself in a different district, and I even said, well, maybe you can go to my school. And they were like, absolutely not. The only way is we're moving out of state. So they really like it here. The 8th grader is, you know, he loves the high school. He hates going to the bathrooms. He doesn't, you know, he doesn't mind, like, I don't really like the way the cafeteria and lunches are, but being a middle school teacher, having lunch duty, those are the areas that no matter where you go, it's always going to be a problem. There's always, and it's just how you teach your child to deal with it. So we talk about it a lot at home, but just maybe put it out there and make those parents feel at ease and be more transparent and keep communication going as to what wonderful things are happening. Because I think, you know, parents think that now sports may go because of all these big budget cuts and where more programs in the high schools are going to go. They're not, my kids not going to have, you know, like anything to, you know, options. So, I don't know, just communication is what I'm taking to make these rumors go away.
Thank you, Norma.
A suggestion, if I may?
Sure.
Would the board and the administration consider forming a focus group of folks like the ones that just spoke, and perhaps have an opportunity to talk to the parents of the children who are considering moving out of district? Because after hearing them speak, I personally would like to go back to high school myself.
I think it's a good idea.
Joe did it.
We did do, are you talking about the thing we did in the summer?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in the summer, we had an invitational kind of a dinner in the evening for parents that were sending their kids to Lenape. And of course, not everyone came, but we had a good group of parents there, and they shared with me a lot of insight that led to us doing a climate survey, that led to us doing some social emotional learning days that we've done, led to us doing different types of guest speakers and different programs. We invested in a second step curriculum to help some of our struggling students. We brought in outside therapists this year using grant money in response to some of those concerns that we had. So I guess I'm only sharing because you asked me to, but yeah, I'm very interested in doing that more. Anyone that's ever contacted me here in this room knows I get back to you. And so I would just encourage you to do that. And like I said, I'm going to do an FAQs. If some of you want me to respond to your FAQs in that form, I'll do that too.
I just think it was interesting, most of the findings were not academic related or sport related, it was a lot of social
There was a
issues,
lot of,
right? So I
social
thought that was
issues.
an interesting, an interesting, like outcome from it. We should continue more, but I was surprised, I thought it would be like.
And I'll add on to this, I'll piggyback on this. I was there, right? I was at that meeting. 2 people, maybe 3, right? So we need participation. We need, and you know, I've got an email, right? You can email me. If you know me, I love to talk. So I will meet with anyone, anytime, anywhere, and we can do single issue meetings. We can do that stuff. We just need people to come and participate. And I'm, you know, emphatically as I can, let's do it, because we're game. We want to hear from you. Ryan Collins?
Brian Collins, Hopatcong Board of Education Association. I'd like to speak about the potential closing of Tulsa Trail School. We've talked a little bit about it before. It's really not in the best interest of anybody. The district, the students, the community, anybody. I've been through this situation, been through it here with Hudson Maxim. Some of the things I'm about to say are things I said right before we closed Hudson Maxim. I've been through it as a kid. It happened in my very own town when I was growing up. Been through it in the district where I worked before I worked here. And it didn't work any of those places. When I was a kid in 2nd grade, they had already closed 2 elementary schools. They closed the 3rd one because enrollment was down. Said, oh, it'll be fine. We don't need those schools anymore. They sold them. And moved 8th grade to the high school, moved some elementary grades into the middle school. And several years later, I graduated, and a couple years after that, they said, oh, we need to build additions on the 2 remaining elementary schools. And everybody said, well, you sold our 3 elementary schools. We'd had them. They were fine. Other private schools own them now. One's the library. And you think we couldn't pass a budget here before? And then we got our current budget situation, which is been the 0 budget for the last almost 10 years, which is part of the reason we're in the situation we're in now. And hopefully with this new board arrangement, we need this current board to help fix that problem. That's how we got here. Most of the board is different now, and I hope that can be fixed. But, you know, the captains of that previous ship have jumped off while we're about to hit the iceberg. I hope we're going to turn away from it rather than crash into it. Selling Tulsa Trail, that's crashing into it. But it's up to you guys. So anyway, in the end, they built an addition on both of the elementary schools in my town. And they couldn't pass a budget for years and years and years and years until practically the whole town turned over and nobody remembered that even happened. And in the district where I previously worked, they sold their middle school because enrollment was down. And they said, oh, don't worry, those 7th and 8th grade kids that were moving to the high school, they'll never see those high school kids. They'll never even intermingle. They intermingled and everybody hated it. And the parents felt lied to. And guess what? Maybe 10 years later, they had to build a giant addition because enrollment went back up, and they had to. There was no room, and everybody was upset that they had to intermingle. Even here, when Hudson Maxim closed, oh, don't worry, everybody. Those 8th grade kids, they're not going to see those high school kids, and we're going to have our own separate principal for those 8th grade kids. That lasted 1 year. That was a sales pitch. That was the undercoating at the used car dealership. Guys, we're going to throw in the undercoating. Will you take it? Did you drive it off the lot today? Let's go. Let's vote. Then, don't worry, Mrs. Hens is going to stay down at the middle school with Mr. Benfatti. She's going to handle the 4th and 5th grade kids. And it's going to be a whole separate deal. Don't worry. They'll never see each other. And now they see each other all the time. And it's just one big school with one principal. Don't even have a vice principal. And guess what? Nobody even remembers that happened. because they don't need to remember it. It's already done. And you can't undo it. We don't even own Hudson Maxim anymore. Sell Tulsa Trail, same thing's gonna happen. Same thing's gonna happen. Let's fix Tulsa Trail. Let's get the money we need. We need to raise taxes a little bit. We need to get grants. We need to do whatever things we need to do to find the money. It's a new Board of Education now. We don't have to zero budget to make our friends happy. But someone mentioned potentially building onto the middle school in years down the road if we need to. I remember when I was teaching at the middle school several years ago, I asked if we could pave the back area where that playground is now. If we could pave it to put in basketball courts, something that we could use in bad weather, have it plowed. And I talked to Jeff about it, and Jeff said, that's all protected wetlands, and we can't do anything with that area. And that whole area surrounding it, we might call it a swamps. The state might call it protected wetlands. It's also home to the protected eastern box turtle, which it's hard to do those kind of projects when you have animals like that in the state of New Jersey. We see them out there all the time when we're out there. It's kind of cool. The kids like it. It's a fun little thing when we're outside. And you know, so I'm telling you, I've seen this movie before. I know how it ends. And let's watch a different movie.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate it. Thank you.
I wasn't really going to say anything. I was just going to kind of sit back and observe. But there was something that was said about the school system being pretty great 10 years ago, and I beg to disagree. My son was 11 years old 10 years ago when he was beat up over at the middle school, which is why there's currently cameras over at that high school right now. A lot of you remember it, a lot of you don't. But it wasn't that great 10 years ago. The enrollment is not declining because the Hopatcong school system academic is not so great, or the programs. I think a lot of people need to listen to what this young lady had to say earlier. I don't think that you should dismiss her so easily when she tells you that they're doing okay. They will adjust. They have been adjusting, right? To make it out as if it's so terrible, I think is a huge misstatement. If anything, a lot of the programs that I'm seeing, I didn't know about, they didn't have 10 years ago. The enrollment is declining steadily because of the bullying that is not being addressed. And the administration is sweeping it under the rug. Still to this day, it's nothing different. It's not better, not worse. It's the exact same. People want all these resources, they want all these programs, but you don't want tax increases. So how do you expect to get them? Because 10 years ago, they literally had to move the ballot measure in order to get tax increases to fund your kids' education, because you guys continuously voted again. So I'm not really sure what the solution is, but I definitely know that you can't have your cake and eat it too. That's all I really wanted to say.
Thank you. Thank you. Frank? Wait, I got a Frank Wimbush and then I got a Frank Ferrugia. Let's go with Wimbush first. I'm sorry, man.
All right. Okay. I want to thank you for trying to set a permanent start time for us. That's really going to help. Yay for the camera. I was on the board website today. I didn't quite see a link. I don't know if there's a link there yet. But you might want to also add a link to the town website to the school board meeting, if they'll let you. Maybe they don't, maybe there's probably, I don't know. But add access to the link. I think having this here will help the town hear some of the good things that you're doing. Because we don't hear that. We only hear what people tell me on Facebook, and that's not always good. You guys, I want to welcome the new members.
you.
You guys you all inherited a tough job. Some of that's my fault. I was working when my kids were going to school here. I wasn't able to make school board meetings. I was lucky I made parent-teacher meetings, and I relied on the school board then to take care of all the problems and things like that, and I didn't do what I needed to do. And what we should do, you have a problem, Mr. Piccirillo? He answered my email in a day, if not the same day. And then he called me the very next day. He said, hey, did I answer all your questions? And he gave me a little homework. I'm working on my homework.
And I didn't know you were going to come and speak either. So if I would have known you were speaking, I would have said something even nicer.
I don't know. I didn't do all my homework. Let's see. Okay, so I didn't see in the minutes. I would like to see every month a monthly status of what's happening with Tulsa Trail. I know last meeting I came and it was, the roof and this and air and that and this and that. There was an issue with how good the building is. I would like to get a status of how it went through the month. How did it do last month? How many repairs? Because I was hearing that there might be like monthly repairs that had to be done to that building. So I'd like to get an idea. I would like to hear like a monthly status of what happened to the building, and how much to fix it that month, and how much maybe to fix it next month, and any other maintenance problems that they had. One of the things I know Mr. Piccirillo kind of like shot down when I talked to him was that I would like to see, and I probably can't happen, I would like at least the parents to have audio access to the classroom. I would have wished I had that when, I know they didn't have it. I wish they had that when I was a parent. I would have been able to see if it was my son, causing the problems, and I would take care of that. Or I would see who was the one causing problems for my son. Or I could see why he's not getting along with that teacher and not paying attention I know video is impossible. But I would like to see audio access, at least for the parents. And I don't know, that'd be probably something hard for you to do, but it was something I would like to see. I guess the only thing I have left is I still would like to see us set measurable goals. I think some of the problems we're having with people seeking other schools is that our school doesn't grade out well. And I think one of our measurable goals should be, we should be trying to really raise that measurable goal so that it looks better on paper. When people look at the school on paper, it will even look better on paper. And I'm hoping that with the Zoom for us, that people will hear from these wonderful students who come up here and tell you that their school isn't as bad as it sounds on Facebook. So hopefully more people will watch in Zoom and see that there are things going on, and we have a lot of work to do. And the more people that see that, maybe more people will contact Mr. Piccirillo and say, I have a problem in my 8th grade, or I have a problem with 7th grade, I have a problem with 3rd grade. And they can discuss it with him, and he seems very open to discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Frank.
Frank number 2.
Frank number 2.
Good evening, everybody, and board and new board members, welcome. Good luck to you and best wishes. I just had a couple things real quick. The topic that we had last month about fundraising was, do you guys have like a report or something, or the ideas that you were talking about? I guess you discussed in open session and closed session, fundraising for bringing funds into the district. Everybody had ideas and stuff like that.
Do you have something on the agenda tonight? Yeah, hang tight, you'll see, we got some stuff.
Okay. The other thing I want to mention is thank you for moving the meeting time. I think it's going to work much better. And that's what we did. We started at 6 and had executive session and opened it up at 7. Sometimes we ran a little over, but we try to keep with that. And if you have to go back to executive session, you could do that at the end of the meeting. That'll work out much better for everybody. Thank you. Appreciate that. And last but not least, I want to put a plug in for our 50-year class reunion. second graduating class, 1972. Principal Martinez is helping us organize that, and Dr. Picarillo. It's going to be on June 25th, and we're going to do a tour of the high school at 1:30, and then we're going to have a get-together at the Jefferson House. Right now we contacted as many as the 119 students that we had in the class at that time that we could. I think we missed just a couple. 30 of the students are going to attend, for a total of roughly 50 with their spouses, and they're actually bringing some students from other classes that wanted to attend because they didn't have a 50 reunion or they missed it. And we're going to have that at the Jefferson House, so on the night of the 25th. So, but it's going to be a special event. And on a somber note, from that class, we lost 25. Yeah, we lost 25. That was it.
Thank you, Frank. Appreciate it, man.
I believe that's the end of our comment, but I want to just, oh.
Jen didn't get to sign in.
I didn't.
Jen John?
I know I was asked. I have 3 questions. How many seats do we have in the high school? How many seats do we have in the high school for students? 1,600? Is that accurate? Anybody know? Okay, my second question is how many seats do we have in the middle school? And how many students do we have in Hopatcong schools? Because we have 1,600 seats in the high school, and we have 1,443 students in the district. And maybe a fourth question. At the largest that Hopatcong ever was, every seat what was the capacity then? What was our enrollment then? The most students we've ever had in Hopatcong in our school district. That's it.
Thank you, Jen.
I want to thank everybody for public participation. And I want to say something without it seeming like I'm not thankful that you're here, because I actually really am thankful you're here. But understand this. Again, there are some of you here, I'm looking at some faces of people that have asked to meet with me. I've met with you with groups of parents to actually go through things with our notes out, going back and forth. I mean, we even went through policies together, some groups of parents. So I meet with Jen every other week. You know, like there are folks in this room. Rachel, we met the other day. You know, so there are groups of people here that have reached out to me. We meet, and I think we get some good stuff done. For those of you that want more transparency, I hope this is a good step in the right direction. That everyone will see everything we said. We tried committee of the whole to bring transparency. We had a special meeting to talk about things. But I will say this, just generally speaking, there is a user-friendly budget that has all the budget. It went up on the website. I think it has to go up 24 or 48 hours after the meeting. Jeff would know the exact thing. But and regarding the moving of reconfiguration, I want to say this really clearly. Number one, we have a budget problem in our district. Shocking, I know. All right. Number two, we want to provide the best education to students. So considering those 2 factors, what you don't want your superintendent to do and what you don't want your Board of Education to do is sit on their hands. So I have to tell you this straight. I talk to every superintendent in the area, and I seek out opportunities to, 1, provide the best education we can to our students, and 2, to help in our financial crisis. That means that we often toss around crazy ideas, but I don't reject any idea that comes to my ear. Because out of 100 bad ideas, there might be one really good idea that will change the trajectory of this district. And again, you don't want your superintendent sitting on his hands. I won't do it. I won't do it. I was hired here for a purpose, and I'm going to work to do it. I'm not just going to sit here. So what you have on your agenda is, I'll find it. What you have on your agenda, it's a long one. What you have on your agenda is, it is recommended, this is page 15, those at home, it is recommended by the superintendent that the Board of Education Now, watch the words on this. Approve the development of plans to relocate grades 2 and 3 for the 2023-24 school year. So what does that mean? No one's approving a reconfiguration for September, which was one of the rumor mill things. No one's approving any building to be sold or purchased at this point, or rented at this point. There was a conversation we had about renting a few rooms, because again, you don't want your superintendent sitting on his hands. If there was opportunity laying there for us to bring in income, it's my responsibility to investigate that. We're not doing that. But what is being approved is that we are trying to put this on paper in the purposes of being transparent. So you know we're thinking about it. What would it take for us to act on it? Would be your next question. It's a fair question. What would it take for us to act on it would be for us to have a feasibility study that would need to be done for the DOE to approve us to close the school. That feasibility study likely takes 5 months to happen. So that's 5 months of an outside person coming up with the answers to Jen's questions, specifically, answers to some of the concerns Maureen mentioned of what happens if enrollment increases, some of the concerns Brian mentioned. This is what those studies do. They then present that information to the Board of Education, they present it to the public, and then we'll be empowered with information with which to act. And that'll be in the public eye. But for me to sit here and to not do anything would be, you would criticize me for that. What I'm interested in is perhaps we will start this. Maybe we will do Yell at Me Tuesdays. and on Tuesday mornings after a board meeting, I'll sit outside at a table, and I'm being serious. It sounds a little funny. But I'll take any walker by that wants to tell me something, because I don't know how else to be more transparent. People will be watching this video for days and days after. Come to me, I will give you the answer, and if I don't have the answer, I'll say I don't have the answer. Then the other thing regarding the 7th grade to the high school, which I'll tell you where that rumor started. I'll take responsibility for it. In the conversation of talking about closing Tulsa Trail, which again, you know what's being recommended here. In that context, I think it was mentioned, well, where would the 2nd and 3rd graders go? When someone asks me a question in a board meeting, you don't expect to get a full answer other than what might be, right? I'm at a board meeting, it's in live time. And I said, well, you know what might happen is 2 and 3 could move to the middle school, and maybe we wouldn't all fit in the middle school. Maybe the 7th grade would have to go to the high school. Those words led to, guess what's happening in September? 7th grade's going to the high school. This is awful decision. Well, let's be true about this. Nothing on here is about the high school at this point, right? Nothing is. But with regard to the 8th grade, and any decision you make, there's going to be pros and cons, of course. But what I can tell you is I saw Beauty and the Beast with an 8th grader in the lead, and he was awesome. What I can tell you is we have 8th graders picking up high school credits and finishing their high school early and getting in college credits in their junior and senior year. I can tell you that. I'm not telling everything sunshine and rainbows, but I just want to be fair because people are going to hear the criticisms, and I'd rather them hear the other side in full transparency, right? Other things I have a bunch of notes here and I will get into that, but I just want to be, Yell at Me Tuesdays I think is going to happen. And I think we can start tomorrow, 8 o'clock, 8 a.m., Yell at Me Tuesdays. I will go outside.
Do we just drive by?
I'm serious. 8
8
a.m. Yell at me on your way to work.
If you do it at 8 p.m., I'll come get yelled at with you. It's all right. All right, moving forward here to item 13, which is finance. And I'm getting advanced in age, so I'm not sure if this is my fault, so somebody stop me. I see that it ends in K, not L. So I'm going to ask for a motion to approve items A through K in finance. I have an L.
Oh, it's the
Scott, you're correct. The motion below is correct, 17K.
Okay, it's A through K?
Yeah, the body is.
So I'm asking for a motion to approve finance items A through K.
We're in finance?
Yes.
Finance.
13.
Page
13.
4. Page 4.
Page 4.
I'll make the motion.
All right, is there a second?
I will second it.
All right, we have Nicole, seconded by Jackie. Is there any discussion? Yes, sir.
There are a number of these that I'd like to table, so I would ask that they be reserved and voted on separately, so that would be 13B.
Yep.
13B.
Hold on, please, can't hear. I'm getting old, can't hear. 13B?
13B.
Yep.
13D.
Yep.
And 13J.
All right. This is gonna trip me up every time.
Just amend the motion
Okay.
with a first and a second, and we're up to the rest.
What are the issues with these?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah, well, we're not yet, because we didn't get there. Actually, no, I'm sorry, you're right.
Yeah, I made the
We're in
motion,
discussion,
Jackie
yeah.
seconded.
So, talk to us, Jerry.
Yeah, I spent some time on it, and I was unable to reconcile the secretary's report and the treasurer's report. So what I'm asking the board for is to agree with my table and give me the opportunity to sit down and iron out those details with Jeff.
Okay. Any other discussion? And when we have Jay as well.
Can we ask Jeff if he reconciles them?
We can.
I have. They've gone to the treasurer of school monies and they've been reconciled with her as well. I'm certainly interested in hearing what Mr. Gruenfelder's concerns are.
All right. And Jay?
Yeah, Jay is problematic in that Jay is not a resolution.
And Jerry, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
And to Jerry's credit, Jerry did share that with me prior to the meeting that he had concerns about Jay. I did reach out to Jeff and discussed it with him. These two should have been included with all of our approvals that were done at last month. These two were just, they inadvertently left off that big list. You'll recall that list there. So this is just a matter of approving all of our vendors every year like we do.
I understand that, but the problem that I have with Jay, when I say it's not a resolution to me names the party, names the term, and names the amount. If we were to vote this evening on the auditor and health insurance, it wouldn't be, I don't believe it would be a valid vote because we're not voting on a valid resolution. And further, I don't think that there's any harm done with reserving these and putting them on the next agenda. And second, I do have an issue with the auditor in that I have found some discrepancies in the audit and I would like to iron them out with the auditor before we approve him for another year.
Okay. So, anybody else?
I just want to ask Rich, as it's written, Jay, is it correct or incorrect? Does it need to be a resolution?
The amount of the contract should.
Okay.
Normally, we do professional services contracts somewhat differently. And maybe the best thing to do would be to provide the standard template for how that would appear in the future. So this would iron things out for that. But in terms of the discussions with the auditor, typically what would happen is what I normally see is the auditor coming into finance committee to explain questions that we have, ordinarily not individual board members meeting unless it was pursuant to a board motion. So, part of that is pertaining to the accountability regulations that don't permit individual board members to meet with professionals or charges to the board without specific authorization.
Okay.
Well, to me, a resolution is a summary of a contract. So when you're asking the board to vote on a contract, one, I have to know how much it's gonna cost. Two, I have to know who it is. And three, I have to know the term of the contract. That's not here.
No, I said.
We're good there. I think what we do is we move, yeah, we move this off, right? J is, and maybe this is a remotion, or whatever we want to call it legally. We move J off, right? I still want to talk about B and D, right? And then Jerry, the issues that you're having with the auditor, we can connect with Joe and Jeff, and we can figure out the best way to communicate that through the auditor back to the board and make sure that everything's lining up and matching. But I want to handle them as two separate issues, right?
No,
We got-
that's fine. And we received the audit and we accepted the audit, and I believe that Title 18A requires the board within 30 days to discuss that audit at a public meeting, to go over the recommendations in the audit, and then forward a copy of the minutes to the county superintendent. That hasn't been done.
All right, we're gonna look into Title 18A to make sure that we get on track.
Clarifying question, Jerry, just so I have it. Are you talking about the audit that was presented early in the year, back in October or September?
I don't think we accepted the audit until this January.
All right.
And I don't have a problem tabling 13B and D. It's not an
Okay.
issue.
All right. So
No-
then
no
the
timeline
motion
there.
is to,
Change my motion?
yes, if you don't mind.
Sure, I'd like to move 13, all of 13, and tabling B, D, and J.
Perfect.
I'll second that.
Thank you. All right, Jeff, please call the roll. But let's go back into discussion just to make sure. Any discussion?
I'm good with it.
No, that's fine. The table gives me everything that I need.
All right, perfect. All right, hearing no more discussion, Jeff, please call the roll on 13A through K, less B, D, and J. Got it.
Ms. Falcone Schubert.
Yes.
Ms. Goulant.
Yes.
Mr. Falcone.
Stay.
Mr. Grunfelder.
Yes.
Mr. DeStefano is absent. Ms. Turkington.
Yes.
Ms. Polachena.
Yes.
Ms. Gravatt.
Abstain.
And Mr. Francis.
Yes, thank you, Jeff. All right, item 14 is personnel. I'm going to ask for a motion to approve items 14A through Q.
I'll make the motion. We'll second it.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on personnel items A through Q? Okay, hearing none, Jeff, please call the roll.
Motion by, I'm sorry,
Nicole,
Myself.
seconded by Jack.
thank you, just catching up.
Yep.
Ms. Falcone Schubert.
Yes.
Ms. Goulant.
Yes.
Mr. Falcone.
Abstain.
Mr. Grunfelder.
Yes.
Mr. DeStefano is absent. Ms. Turkington.
Yes.
Ms. Polachena.
Yes.
Ms. Gravatt.
Abstain.
And Mr. Francis.
Yes, sir. All right, item 15 is travel and professional development. Did I skip something? Oh, sorry. Travel and professional development, and I'm going to ask for a motion to approve item 15.
I'll make the motion. I'll second it.
Okay, that's Nicole, seconded by Jana. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, Jeff, please call the roll.
Ms. Falcone Schubert.
Yes.
Ms. Goulant.
Yes.
Mr. Falcone.
Abstain.
Mr. Grunfelder.
Yes.
Mr. DeStefano is absent. Ms. Turkington.
Yes.
Ms. Polachena.
Yes.
Ms. Gravatt,
Abstain.
and Mr. Francis.
Yes. Thank you, Jeff. All right, item 16 is policy and regulation, and I'm gonna ask for a motion to approve item 16.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
All right, we got Nicole followed by Jana. Any discussion? Policy and regulation. I have a question. If we're gonna vote to approve these, and I wanna vote no on one of them, I just cite the number? Okay. All right. Any other discussion?
Can you discuss which one you don't want to vote for?
Controversial issues.
That was that sentence, that like little word it added in.
2240.
Could you go over the verbiage, what it is for
Cut the controversial issues. So I'll tell you particularly, I mean, I don't want to make a whole spectacle out of it, but in particular, what I'm not agreeing with is the starting the discussion in 6th grade. And that's okay. You know, I respect the other side. Any other discussion on this?
We also have a second reading, so this is just the first one. So if you want, you'll be able to participate in this.
All right, Jeff, please call the roll.
Ms. Falcone Schubert,
Yes.
Ms. Gulon,
Yes.
Mr. Falcone,
Abstain.
Mr. Grunfelder,
Yes.
Mr. DeStefano is absent. Ms. Turkington,
Yes.
Ms. Polachina,
Yes.
Ms. Gravatt,
Abstain.
and Mr. Francis.
So no on 2240, but yes on the remainder.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, item 17 is students and services, and I'm going to ask for a motion to approve items 17A through G.
I'll move it.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
All right. Poll followed by Jackie. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Jeff, please call the roll on 17A through G.
Ms. Nicole Falcone Schubert,
Yes.
Ms. Gulon,
Yes.
Mr. Falcone, Mr. Grunfelder,
Yes.
Mr. DeStefano is absent. Ms. Turkington,
Yes.
Ms. Polachina,
Yes.
Ms. Gravatt,
Yes.
and Mr. Francis.
Yes, sir. All right, item 18, resolutions. I'm going to ask for a motion to approve items 18A through D.
I want to special point out, I want to move A separate, special recognition,
All right.
and then approve the rest, B through D as a whole.
All right, so then let's do this. I'm going to amend my motion for, let's start with resolution to approve item 18A.
I move 18A. Second.
Okay?
18A is recommended the superintendent to appoint Julia Santiago and Lana Coca as student representatives to the Board of Education.
Okay, any discussion on 18A?
Oh, no, sorry.
No
Just
discussion?
letting her know what the resolution
We're
was.
just very excited to have you.
Yeah,
Very
very
excited.
excited.
Thank you.
Well,
You speak
yeah.
very well.
Congratulations.
I can't wait to work with you.
Any other discussion on 18A? I will say that in the few times that I've gotten to see this young woman speak, I've been overly impressed. And I'm looking forward to you guys being here, or you ladies being here. I'm pumped. This is going to be a cool thing. So Jeff, if there's no other discussion, please call the roll.
All right, on the motion for 18A, Ms. Falcone Schubert,
Yes.
Ms. Gulon,
Yes.
Mr. Falcone,
Yes.
Mr. Grunfelder,
Yes.
Mr. DeStefano is absent. Ms. Turkington,
Yes.
Ms. Polachina,
Yes.
Ms. Gravatt,
Yes.
and Mr. Francis.
Yes, sir. I think they deserve another round of applause. Love to sit here and clap for that all night. All right, so now just getting back to 18B through D. Do we have a motion to approve 18B through D?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second? Yes? Okay, any discussion on B through D? Hearing none, Jeff, please call the roll.
Ms. Falcone Schubert,
Yes.
Ms. Gulon,
Yes.
Mr. Falcone,
Abstain.
Mr. Grunfelder,
Yes.
Mr. DeStefano is absent. Ms. Turkington,
Yes.
Ms. Polachina,
Yes.
Ms. Gravatt,
Abstain.
and Mr. Francis.
Yes, thank you, Jeff. All right, item 19 is the Sussex County Regional Cooperative. And I'm going to ask for a motion to approve items A through L. Looks like no. I'm going with L.
I will move A through L.
Thank you, Jackie. Is there a second? Jana? Any discussion on the cooperative items A through L?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Start with Jerry, then Nicole.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Since we, as members of the Hopatcong Board of Education, are also members of the Board of Directors of the co-op, sometime previously, we discussed the insurance coverage that the co-op would carry to indemnify us in case there were any suits brought against participants in the co-op. And I'm reluctant to vote yes on the motion simply because I would love to have, we talked about the risk manager coming in, and I would love to have that gentleman here and hear what the coverages are and the possibilities for litigation, and to make sure that the coverage is sufficient to indemnify us against any claims.
Okay. So I'm hearing in my left ear, I believe he's coming in June. What I want to ferret out is what's pertinent on the items that we can move, and what do you feel? Because I think you're making a good point. Do we need to eliminate all the items, or are there some that you feel are more pertinent to that gentleman coming in?
No, I'm very comfortable voting in favor as long, I did not know that the gentleman was coming in on June the 10th, so that's new information, and that satisfies my concern.
Awesome. Okay, Nicole?
I don't have a question. I was confused about the coordinator, because we have a different position, right? Not co-op, so I'm good.
Okay, and Jeff, I just want to confirm from my own, the guy's coming in June.
Yeah, unfortunately, the partner in the firm passed away unexpectedly. So they've had a little bit of change, but he will be here for next month.
Okay, all right, cool. Thank you. Any other discussion on 19? A through L. Hearing none, Jeff, please call the roll.
And I'm sorry, I just need my motion and my second again, just to double check.
It was Nicole and Jana.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Ms. Falcone Schubert.
Yes.
Ms. Gulon.
Yes.
Mr. Falcone.
Abstain.
Mr. Grunfelder.
Yes.
Mr. DeStefano is absent. Ms. Turkington.
Yes.
Ms. Polachina.
Yes.
Ms. Gravatt. And Mr. Francis.
Yes, thank you, Jeff. Okay, we do have an addendum. So I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the addendum items A through D.
I'll move the addendum.
Okay. Cole, seconded by Jackie. Any discussion on the addendum? Hearing none. Jeff, please call the roll on the addendum A through D.
Ms. Falcone Schubert.
Yes.
Ms. Gulon.
Yes.
Mr. Falcone.
Abstain.
Mr. Grunfelder.
Yes.
Mr. DeStefano is absent. Ms. Turkington.
Yes.
Ms. Polachina. Ms. Gravatt.
Abstain.
And Mr. Francis.
Yes, okay. Couple other things here. We're gonna go back into executive session. Before we do that, I am 100% sure that we agreed last time that we would offer the opportunity for board member comments. So I wanna do that now, and then we will make the motion to go back into executive. We'll come back to executive and we'll close out the meeting. So getting started on board member comments, right now we're gonna start with, Kelly, you wanna do it? Let's go, Kelly Gravatt, welcome to the board. Yeah, this is optional for everyone, this is optional.
No, I'm just excited to be here, so thank you.
All right.
Congratulations to our 2 student ambassadors. Congratulations to our 2 new board members. Just know that it's always about the people in the buildings, not the buildings the people are in. And it's always about doing the right thing to make sure that all of the people in those buildings are happy, and healthy, and safe, and learning, and so excited for all of the great, so all of that is important to everything that I do, that I'm here for. I truly do it with all my heart and soul, because many of you know I have a lot of stuff, and my heart and soul is in everything that I do. And I'm so excited for senior night, National Honor Society, graduation, 50th anniversary. I mean, the school year ends, but it just doesn't end, and it's going to be a great end of the year. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Truly, truly. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Jana?
Yes, everything I was gonna say, she said, I don't wanna reiterate it, but the other thing I wanna remind everyone, just because it's on Facebook does not mean it's true. And as somebody with being on the Board of Education with public figures, we can't really respond, but it's really hurtful to see the comments and people tearing the school down, and it's not even the truth. And I just want you guys to take what is on Facebook with a grain of salt. And if you have questions, like Dr. Patel said, email him or email us. We're more than happy to respond. So that's my only comment.
Thank you, Jana. Nicole?
My kids are in 6th grade and 3rd grade, and they've gone through all of the changes that Julia spoke about, and they've done it beautifully, much better than I did, dealt with it, much better than, you know, my friends' parents, because kids are adaptable. So with that said, making a change every year is a lot. It's a lot for our community, and it's a lot for our staff. So I know one of my goals as a board member is to make the next move the permanent move. Whatever that is, I want it to be the thing that sticks with us for a long time so we can provide that continuity of instruction and stability for the students and the staff. And that's what we're all going to focus on up here. I don't know what that looks like yet, but I hear you, like closing Hudson on a whim was terrible, right? The idea of possibly closing Tulsa, it's a building that houses our wonderful staff and students. And if we need to make that move, it's not the people that we're losing, it's just the building. And to talk about Jen's point, there are a lot of buildings and not that many kids and staff. So I always equate this to like my house. I have a 4-bedroom house. I don't need a 4-bedroom house. That extra bedroom makes more time that I have to clean, right? And more money that I have to spend to furniture or whatever. Right now, we're so spread out, so our funds are not concentrated, okay? We can't put a lot of time and attention and money into one specific or 2 specific or 3 specific spots. So if you think about it that way with your budget, you know, when you have something that you need to fix and then improve upon, it makes more sense that it's concentrated, it's together. And so wherever the kids are and wherever the students are, that's where we're going to be able to put our time and our energy. And the further we're spread out, the harder it is to do with the little funds that we have. That's just my perspective, trying to look at it, comparing what I do in my house to what we need to do here in the district. And it's exactly what Jackie said, and I think Art said it best when we closed Tulsa. Like, staff's coming with us, okay? And the kids want to see you all. Right? They're so happy when they get off the bus to see you. They're so happy when they get off the bus to see the teachers. That's not going to change. And the idea of moving the 7th graders into the high school, I always look at it from a family perspective. I have a big family. My son is 12 years old. He is so good with all of the kids that surround him, from babies, you know, to the kids in, you know, right underneath him. And then he looks up to the older cousins. So in my opinion, we are a family. It is a small district. We fight, right? Sometimes we don't get along, but what we teach them at home and what we teach them in the classroom all can transfer. And it's not a fairy tale, trust me, I get it. But we are gonna make the best of this, and we're gonna do it together. All these people up here, that's all they want. We all have kids and grandkids and love this community. So I understand your frustrations. Trust me, I've had them too. I've been on that side, and I think it's all about perspective. So I appreciate the student perspective, the parent perspective, the grandparents, the teachers. But I don't want you to think that there's like ill intentions, because that's what bothers me the most when I read the things online, that people think that there's ulterior motives and we want, you know, terrible things to happen. I don't even know why that would be a thing, because who does it benefit? It doesn't benefit us, doesn't benefit the kids. So talk it up as much as you can and ask away, but don't let Facebook or Instagram, or even, you know, the hallways be your news source, because most of it's not true. Thank you.
Thank you. Jerry?
Thank you. First, I'd like to say that I am thrilled with the attendance at this meeting. I couldn't be more impressed with the student representatives that are going to be attending the board meetings, and the fact that they are seniors in the high school, and the fact that they invited me to the induction of the National Honor Society. I'm thrilled and I'm humbled, and I will be there. For the folks who had things to say, please don't think that we're not paying attention to you. I hear everything that you say. Yes, I have a strong background in finance, and I believe in putting money into education. But I first believe that we need to make use of all the resources that we currently have. So what I'm saying is, I am not opposed to raising taxes to support quality education. What I am opposed to is not looking deeply into the budget and through the budget on both sides, the revenues and the expenses, to make sure that we are taking into account every nickel, dime, and penny that we have available to us before we make the decision to raise taxes. But thank you all for coming, and please understand that I applaud everyone who got up and spoke tonight, and I will make it my business to listen very carefully and to do whatever I can to make it one meeting in the future where you all get up and say, gee, thank you, you paid attention. So thanks very much for coming.
Thank you, Jerry. Joe?
Yeah, real quick, I'd just like to thank the board for putting their faith in me and having me on. It'll be a pleasure to work with everybody. I really enjoyed listening to everyone's stories about, we heard some stories about what everyone's kind of walk of life with in remembrance of what Hopatcong used to be, and some are good memories, some are not so good. But I think collectively, we're all going to work together in creating our own memories of what Hopatcong could be. So I look forward to working with everybody, all the parents and staff here, so thank you.
Thank you. All right, Jen?
Being watched, pretty much everything's been covered. Sitting up here, we don't do anything lightly. Some people may think we just, randomly just do stuff. We don't. A lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of thought, a lot of fighting behind the scenes. Disagreeing, agreeing takes place. Nothing we do lightly. We do it in the best interest of the kids. Saturday, spent more than all day. Friday night setting up for a fabulous cookie tray. Did we get enough?
I'll communicate that to you later.
And I'm so excited to be going to the National Honor Society. My daughter actually is going to conduct it as well, so I'm happy.
Thank you. All right, well, hey, so I have a few things. I think for starters, we're in May. What an experience over the last 5 months. I mean, you sit on the board and then you get this thing and it's like, whoa, it's a completely different element, but in a positive way. And this has helped me grow as a person, and it's been really cool, and you're all part of that, so thank you. I have to plug the band. We went to the band, and there was the high school and the middle school band, and Mr. Zimmerman and Cerula. I mean, these guys were cranking. These kids were amazing, and it was a very, very cool experience. So I like seeing that kind of stuff as well. Welcome to Kelly and Joe. Congratulations. Thank you to the other candidates that ran and put their name in. We appreciate it. Another thing that I really want to stress, I said it before, is the level of board participation that we have, that you guys don't get to see. You see a lot of a few people up here with the way that we're moving forward. And I have to admit, early on, in January, February, was very frustrating to sit up here and have question items on the agenda mid-meeting. We're like, what? I'm like, what is going on here? How are we doing? Now I love it. And I mean that, because it means we're getting better. And we're taking a deeper look at things, and people are participating. And whereas at first I thought it was embarrassing, now I feel like it's collective participation. And it's not bad, it's progress. So I hope that everybody else shares that opinion. I can't tell you how pumped I am for you two. Like, I mean, I will keep telling anyone that will listen how excited I am about this, and you know, I don't know, we'll figure it out, whether it's phone calls or emails or meeting once a week. You guys are gonna be a big part of this thing. I want everyone to stay positive, even though sometimes I don't, right? We all have to work on that, right? Self-reflection. Like, if we come in, you know, my man Frank Wimbush, I listen to this guy every week, and he says the same things as everyone else in a different way. And it's so cool to hear just a different kind of, you can definitely challenge and you can definitely make opinions, but there's a way to do it that's so cool that will be received so well if you just put that little spin on it and try to come up with solutions. And I think that that's important. The last thing, you know, Jana mentioned it, you know, social media, call me, right? 516-330-6546 for the line, 516-330-6546. That's my cell phone. Call me, text me. I'll get to Joe, we'll get to whoever we have to get to on the board, but you know, hear it from us. And if we have to, if it's a big enough issue, we'll do a single issue meeting, and we'll get rocking on that so that everybody can come and listen to it. I'm almost done.
We have celebrities are manning the lines right now.
I have a big thank you to my peers, which I already mentioned. Some of these people I'm on a weekly roll, some a daily roll with. Joe, I'm on a 5 times a day roll with, which has been very cool. And then last, you know, Kathy, Jeff, and Rich have been a big part of this thing. And just thank you all. It's a very cool experience, and together we're going to do some pretty cool stuff. So with that, we're not going to adjourn. I'm going to ask for a motion to move back into executive. We've got some housekeeping to clear up. All we're going to do when we come back is adjourn. So if you want to stay, love to see you in the end, but if you don't, we understand it's late. Thank you for coming. And can I have a motion to go into executive? All in favor? Aye. All right.
So Thursday, we have after these national.